Welcome to Life, Biz, and All That Jazz, the podcast where real talk meets transformation. If you're navigating your mental health, healing from trauma, trying to shift pain to purpose, and create a life that you truly love, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jasmine and. Today's episode is for the women who are sick of listening to old stories, especially the ones that often whisper to themselves or hear in their head, "You are not enough." We're here to change your thoughts on that. We're here to talk about the moment that you get to change your path. You get to decide how you think, how you feel about yourself. It's all about choosing your thoughts and feelings and not being ruled by them. And today's guest is Lena, and I'm so excited to bring her on. So without further ado, welcome Lena. Lena Ehrenberg, welcome to Life, Biz, and All That Jazz.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here.
I'm really excited for our conversation today because from, previous conversations, I think a lot of women are going to relate to what we talk about today. So I'd love for you to take it back to what life was like before you had your shift and got to where you are today.
I think the best way to say that is life was just ordinary to me. Life was just one day followed the next. And I just always thought, this is what it is. And I had dreams and I had hopes and all those things, but I didn't really think that my life could be very much different than the lives of people that I saw around me, which were wonderful, but it's just I always really kind of stuck with the known and never really thought much further outside of that. I thought that I would always have the same types of friends that I had, have the same type of job that I had, have the same type of expectations for my life that I had. It never occurred to me that I could or would want to have something different.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that. I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize until they kind of make that decision is we get to change. We get to change at any point. We get to control the way that we think or the way that we're feeling or, the way that we react to certain situations. So I'd love for you to tell me more about what you're doing now and kind of like how you're helping women transition from that, because I think that's really important for us to start with that and then we can unpack that a little bit further.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I help women really pursue the kinds of relationships that they want. And women who come to me are very much like I was when I made that shift for myself and even realized that I could do something different or have something different than I had. I was really looking to up level all of my relationships, not just the ones I had that were romantic relationships with men, but I wanted all of my relationships to be better. And I really knew that I needed to start with the one that I had with myself. And yes, a lot of my clients come to me because they want to create romantic partnerships that they've never really had before. And we always start with the relationship they have with themselves because it's the foundation for everything else that we have in life. And I realized a while ago that absolutely everything in life is a relationship. We have relationships not only with people, but we have relationships with every facet of our lives. And how do we want to relate to that? And ultimately, how do we want to be relating with ourselves?
The relationship with ourselves, it's underrated until you actually have one.
Yeah.
It is. You don't realize how important it is. I never had a proper relationship with myself. Like I didn't know who I was. I was just constantly coasting, going through healing loops. My relationship with alcohol wasn't good. There were so many factors that I had that really didn't let me just sit and deal with my emotions and actually know who I was.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now, I'm like my own best friend. And I never thought I never thought I would say that, but I love it. I have been single now. I want to have kids. I'm getting to the age I need to like put myself out there, I think, a bit more because I'm so obsessed with my own time now and really value that the life that I've created is great. I don't need to date, but I want to. It's kind of like that. So
Yeah.
I'm at a position where I've tried apps and stuff like that. They're not really for me. I don't drink. So I don't go to bars, and it's not really where I would want to meet someone. But it's kind of the foundation that I have now compared to 10 years ago is transformational, is one way to put it. I know exactly who I am and what I bring to the table, and it's like not wanting to settle. And it's not easy to get to that. This is years of ups and downs, and I'm sure you will unpack it a bit more, but I'm sure you understand how I'm kind of getting to the work is it's hard. It's hard, to do the work. But I think the first step is building the relationship with yourself because you could want to fix multiple areas of your life. But if you don't love yourself and who you are, how can you love someone else?
Exactly. And I mean, to your credit, that is just amazing. That level of understanding of yourself. And that is what's going to set up the foundation for the relationship that you ultimately are able to co-create with someone else. Right? You're going to
Yes.
go in as equals, and that relationship is going to be so much healthier and more respectful for both of you. And that can't help but last longer, be deeper, feel better. And, I hear that from a lot of women, late 30s to early 40s, that a lot of women do want to have children and they want to do it with partners. Some women, are very happy to have children and raise children on their own because that really is the draw for them. And I champion women to create whatever kind of life you really want for yourself, because there's no wrong answers here, but to do
Yes,
it
that's right.
right. I mean, everybody gets to be authentic and do what really is best for herself, and but to always to do it from a foundation of strength for yourself. And I just love what you just shared. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. And it's hard because I don't share stuff like that often. It's more when I'm on the podcast, but when I say it too, I can talk about my journey and where I am and be proud now. And that was never easy. So and that's one of the hardest things I think is to actually be proud of who we are and to remove that shame and that judgment.
And you said something earlier that I'd like to go back to, the idea of we can't, until we love ourselves, we can't love someone else. And there's a certain amount of truth in that. Absolutely. What I believe, though, is that until we love ourselves, we can't truly allow someone else to love us.
Yes.
And that's what really gets in the way of so many relationships, because if you don't see the value in yourself, when someone else is trying to love you, when someone else is trying to express what they see as the value in you, when someone else is trying to tell you all the things that deep down you really want to hear, or express to you all the actions that you really, really want to see, it's hard. You can't accept it because the thought is, why are they saying that? What do they want? And I don't agree with that. And why would someone say that? And I've heard so many women say that. I, I I was really, really, I don't know if the right word is shocked, but I had a woman who had been married for 7 or 8 years said to me, in all honesty, she's like, my husband just tells me how much he loves me and how wonderful he thinks I am, and all of these things. And she kind of went, What? Like, why does he do that?" And
Oh,
she was being honest. She really didn't understand. And my heart just broke for her. And I, I don't know. That's the thing about us loving ourselves, about us liking ourselves, about us accepting and embracing ourselves first and taking that out into the world. And not to say that there's like one place where you're at with it and that's all you have, like our experience of ourselves is like our experience of everything else. It's going to keep growing and it's going to keep becoming more enriched as we go forward, which is a wonderful thing. But imagine the difference between going out from yourself, feeling that strong foundation of love and acceptance for yourself, and then going out in the world and saying, and who might my most wonderful partner be? Who might have the qualities that best complement me? And who can I best complement? Coming from that position of love and authenticity and sincerity and strength, rather than, honestly, most of us learn about dating and about romantic relationships in our adolescence. And our adolescence is very much about wondering what other people think of us and how do other people perceive us. And a lot of times we don't lose that as we move forward. And it's just such an amazing experience to be able to do it from yourself rather than from the perspective of what does somebody else think of me.
no, that was perfect what you explained then. I was really just embodying myself in what I was talking about where I'm at. And that's exactly how I feel is I know that the right person's just around the corner. And let's talk to someone right now, they haven't had the best record with relationships and, they're wanting to start that work on themselves. Where would you tell someone to start?
I'll tell you what helped me a while ago. I had not had children, and I woke up one day and had a moment of deep regret that I had not had children, that I had not had the experience of that. And I looked around my world and I said, what can I do to not only help myself have that experience, albeit even for a short time, and how else might I be able to help? There are so many children in the world. And I became a foster mama. And that experience wound up being very different than I envisioned it being. But for almost 5 months, I had the most wonderful experience of being able to care for and nurture this tiny little thing who was 3 weeks old when they brought her to me
Oh, wow.
and had been a preemie. So she was little, and I didn't know this. I knew nothing about babies, but they lose weight a little bit, or sometimes they do after they're born, a couple of weeks in. So she had been little, gained a couple of pounds, then lost a few pounds. She wasn't even 5 pounds when they brought her to me at 3 weeks old. And I just remember looking at this darling little baby and thinking, first, okay, now what do I do? And and second, the thought came to me, you know what? You've been a baby longer than I've been a mama. You've got 3 weeks on me. So I'm just going to take my cues from you. And I did that. And I'm a praying person. I pray about everything. I prayed about that. And the message that I got, which is part of what I want to share with your listeners, is you're both my children. And whether you are someone who believes in God or the universe or some type of spirituality, or even if you don't, there is something in you that is a deep knowing And a lot of times we lose touch with that. So I want to just offer to you to start to really notice your deep knowing, your deep wisdom. There's something in you that knows. It knows your authentic self. It knows what course you can take, no matter what you call that. One thing also that was an exercise for me that again came out of my experience with this baby is that after a while, I heard myself, I would call her sweet girl. And she had a name, but I called her sweet girl. And after a couple of months of this, I heard myself one day say, oh, sweet girl. And that from that place of deep knowing in me came the question, why don't you ever call yourself that?
Wow. Yeah.
And not only did I not call myself something that kind, I called myself many things that were extremely unkind. And so that's something else I want to offer to someone who's just starting out, who's just doesn't really know where to start. And I love journaling and journaling prompts. I think that's a wonderful thing. And also in the moment, start to hear yourself. And all it takes is noticing when you might be saying something to yourself that you would not say to a friend and you
Yes.
would not say to a child. And that's a great place to start. And that was that became the foundation for a huge shift for me.
And we don't realize how our subconscious, and until you've done the work, but someone listening now into that, is the way that you speak to yourself is telling yourself your emotions, your feelings, everything in your subconscious, how you perceive yourself. And even just, if you're thinking a thought about yourself that's negative, you just try and first be aware of the thought and then reframe it, because you can't switch overnight your thoughts, and we're still going to have those thoughts of doubt and stuff creep in. But it's, for example, if I have anything now that I kind of think of, I'm having some type of thing, oh, I can't do that, or something, because it still comes up, and doesn't matter how much work I do, how much I believe in myself, sometimes there's still that tiny little bit. But what I'll do is I reframe that thought straight away and be like, you're lying to yourself, you can do that.
Right.
Or if I get anxious about a situation, I don't want to do that, just I'll cancel or change it. It's no, you'll be fine, you'll get through it. It's just, and then that's the practice, and that's what you get to build up on, changing your thoughts and changing your patterns.
Yeah.
Something you said earlier in an earlier conversation is it's not just for special people. I think that's power, like that anyone can have this life.
Mm-hmm.
And often we will think, when we're outside of it, when we're not happy with who we are, or we're not in that moment of doing work on ourselves and uncovering things, we think people, say for example, someone listening might think that about me and yourself, is that, oh, they must have something special. Well, no one is special. Everyone gets the option. Everyone has the new day, the new minute, the new second to decide that they want to shift. I'd love for you to unpack that a little bit more.
Gosh, okay, I love that. So I was thinking two things at the same time when you were saying that. And so I'll just go with the first thing being that we see people's results. We see the outside, what other people are presenting. And it usually looks polished and lovely. And, especially with social media today. And we know ourselves from the inside. And it can be really messy on the inside. And so a lot of times what I have found myself doing is comparing my inside with someone else's outside and feeling, well, that how, look at them. They must just naturally be that way, or she must have been born that way, or she has the ability inherently to do that thing. I don't have that. And that was another story I had to stop telling myself. So it is very much, you said nobody is special. I'll say everybody is special, but we're all special in the same way, in that each of us is unique. But none of us is special in the way that someone else deserves to have something and you don't deserve to have it. No, that is not true at all. And chances are that, look, you just shared how much the depths of the work that you've done on yourself personally to get to the point that you're at. And there might be people listening to you thinking that, oh, it just came so naturally to her and it was so easy to her. So what I want to assure everyone is we all get to do the same hard work. That's really what it comes down to. And a lot of being able to do that work is very much about, what are you thinking? What are you, as you just said, Jasmine, what are you saying to yourself that you're feeding yourself, that you're hearing yourself say? And how can you switch that up so that you can be supporting yourself with really more positive messages that will help you move forward? Yeah.
That was perfect. To further on, when you mentioned about like the talking to yourself and relating as well to social media and what we have, our environment, I want to talk a little bit about environment, because I think that's a big part of that start and having that switch, and knowing that you want to change something.
Yeah.
It's not, you've got to think of how you are in, you're speaking to yourself, but what are you consuming? What's external that's consuming that could be affecting the way that you're thinking about yourself? And if you're following all these people on social media that you look at the picture and you think, oh, I wish I looked like that, in the comparison, even though you're not actually saying it out loud, you might just be looking at it, when you're saying it in your head. But that's something as well, is really have a look at your environment. So how are you thinking? But then what is external factors that are coming in that are playing a part of your environment? So
yes,
I think,
yes, absolutely. And I want to add to that, what we were saying earlier about how the unkind things that we say to ourselves and the unkind ways that we think about ourselves, fortunately, not everybody feels that way. Not everybody thinks that way. Not everyone has that kind of negative thought loop going through her head, which is so wonderful. But some people might have a different type of thought loop. So what I want to offer to you is to just become really aware of the way you're thinking, not only aware of the way you're thinking about yourself, but if you are someone who would like to have a romantic relationship with a man, how are you thinking about men? Because talk about, messaging that's going on out in the world. There are a lot of people that have very negative perceptions of men. And if you're not aware that you're taking that in, and if you're not aware that by taking that in, you're creating a belief system about men for yourself, and then you're going out and trying to engage in relationships with men, it's just impossible. It's impossible. And you might be making connections and you might be dating, but you might not be, and you might really not understand why. So it's so healthy for you to really start with your own thoughts. What's going on for you? And that's the other thing that we hear so much in in the world right now that there are a lot of people who just want to lay the blame on other people. There are a lot of women who say, oh, it's because men are like this. There are men who are saying it's because women are like this. But the only thing that we can really control is ourselves and our thoughts. And that's the way each of us gets to take the power back for herself.
I think we're transitioning into a really good path that I want to talk about now, about relationship, how you think about perceived men. So this is for the women or the men, but men's viewing women. I think we can do both ways. Obviously, you focus more on helping women, but I think that's a big factor, is removing past relationships and ideas or what you're seeing in the world. Everyone's a blank canvas when you meet them. I think it's not taking your past into new relationships. And I think that was really important what you said as well, is how were you thinking about it behind the scenes? You might be showing up actively dating, but deep down you've got that issue, like you've got that trust issue that I don't know if I could trust another man. Well, you're not going to attract the right person then. It's like the energy and the way you're coming out.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to put it.
And the energy, I had just written a note for myself because you said something earlier and now, and you just set it up perfectly, which is you used the word, I believe, excitement earlier. And how to even talk about that. Children's movies have set up this expectation that every man should be a prince and sweep us off our feet. Rom-coms have set up the expectation that every relationship needs to start with a spark and be exciting. and we also live in a really, I don't know what to call it, like a high touch kind of period of time right now, where there's just people want things going on and they want the excitement and they expect, all this kind of just fireworks all the time, especially like, well, I have to know if there's chemistry. And by chemistry, they mean, chemistry is just I don't know. I've learned for myself, especially if we're looking for commitment in a relationship, that we have to focus less on chemistry and more on character. Because I think that what some people call chemistry is what I would call attraction, physical attraction, and that can grow. And it can grow really strong coming from a root of character and integrity and feeling like there's depth in the relationship upon which you can build and grow, and that attraction can grow. But this spark that people refer to as chemistry, it's just a physical reaction. And, just like I said, I lay it on the doorstep of rom-coms. That isn't necessarily going to happen. And that isn't necessarily what needs to happen for you to have a really solid, loving partnership with your right match. And it's this whole excitement thing. Calm is amazing. And as much as we don't want to settle, there's another S word that I think is very underrated, and that's the feeling of being satisfied. Being satisfied and being content are two very calm, quiet words, but there's a lot of depth there.
When you're talking about chemistry and then character, I was kind of thinking in my head, chemistry, like you said, you can build on that. It's the thing. It's kind of like, then that can kind of go away. But character, someone's character is like permanent. Would you say that's a more important factor than the chemistry?
Yeah, I know that it is for me. It's also because chemistry is, well, let's face it, chemistry is pretty much based on physical attraction. And that changes, that grows.
Yes.
So I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old your listeners are, but for whoever you are, wherever you are, at whatever point in your life you're at right now, I want you to think for a moment about starting a relationship with someone today. And then if you are looking for a long-term committed relationship, and that might be a marriage, it might not, but if you are looking for that, envision yourself 20 years from now being with that same person and having this wonderful, loving, nurturing relationship with someone who you know that you can count on and that you've been through a lot with over 20 years, that you've had a real life with. What are the chances that that person looks just like he looks today? What are the chances you look exactly the way you look today? So the physicality of your relationship, if it was purely, if the priority was that physical attraction, if you are still together, that's amazing. And chances are that has shifted over the years. But if you start from a base of character, and like you just said, that's not going to change. So then you know that you built on something that's rock solid, and everything else just gets to be more enriched and fuller and deeper on top of that.
When you were talking, I was envisioning myself in 20 years. I'm 37.
Okay.
My listeners are from like 25 to 55. They're quite a big. I don't check it weekly, but that's roughly where it is from the
Great.
Spotify metrics.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I'm at that age now. I still got good egg levels, but my last relationship was nearly 3 years ago, and that was serious, trying for kids. And then after that, that's when I thought, oh, I'm going to just have to have children on my own. I did think of that, like we spoke about before. It's still an option. I've not ruled it out, but I would like to have that partner relationship. And I feel like I've still got time, and that's also is reducing that pressure and knowing that you don't just have to get into something just for the sake of it. But I think it's so important to base things on, can you see yourself with them in 20 years' time? And things are going to change, like life circumstances are going to change. The factors of what we have right now are going to change. Is that person still going to be the person that, that they are now? I think it's really important.
Yeah, character is something that can sometimes take a while to show itself, and will, a person of good character will just mellow and become a person of even greater character, I think. And for men and for women. So I think that that's something exciting. That's when I think about growing alongside someone and, being able to see myself with someone further down the line. You just reminded me, I had a friend when I was in my late 20s. I met a woman who, she was like late 20s, early 30s, I think. And she became engaged to someone, and we were talking about it. And I had met him a few times, and he was very quiet. She's very vivacious. She was out there and always socializing, and just really like the kind of person you want to talk to at a party. The kind, when she walks in the door, everyone wants to meet her. And I said to her, he just is so different. He's so quiet. And she said, well, he's quiet around other people, but he's not necessarily quiet with me. And I said, okay, tell me, what's the secret? Why did you know that he's the person for you? And she said, we have spent so much time talking, and I can see still being happy to be having these conversations with him in 40 years. And that was amazing to me. That was absolutely amazing to me. And they're still going strong. And,
Yeah.
it's just, that's, that's when we want to think about a committed relationship, we have to look for the parts of people that we want to keep hanging out with.
And they're not going to get to a point where the views change. They are exactly who they say they are.
Yeah, there is that too. Compatibility.
And that's the thing as well, as when it comes to relationships, and people do get kind of put off. It depends on the age they are. Some people think that I can't date anymore. And I don't think there's a limit. I don't think there's a limit with dating. It's not just for the younger people who are trying to start a life with other people. It's really about at any stage of your life, you can build that foundation.
Yeah.
So what do you, with what you're doing now, do you want to talk a little bit more about your offerings?
Thank you. Yeah. So I work with women of all different ages, and I love doing that. And as I mentioned, a lot of my clients do want to be married and have children within that partnership. And some of my clients have been married and have been divorced and may be looking towards starting to date again. And some of my clients have dated a lot. Some of my clients haven't dated a lot. And I just want to first assure, all of your listeners that whatever's gone before, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are now and what you know to be true for yourself now and what you envision and desire for yourself going forward. That's what matters. Wherever you're starting from now, it's perfect. You're in your perfect place. And I firmly believe that the partner that you are seeking is seeking you.
Yes.
Right?
I feel that.
I am so committed to that. It's so true, which is why it's so important for you to be going out into the world and being fully you. Because again, going back to the idea that we all learn to date in our adolescence, and we kind of can spend a lot of time trying to change ourselves based on what we think other people might want that we don't even know if they want, right? So, but when you go out into the world fully as you, that's what enables the person who's looking for you to see you and to find you. And so I work with women in a lot of different ways, one of which is I have a 12-week program that if you have not dated in a while, or if you've been dating and you are feeling like you might like some guidance about how to make that a better experience for yourself, because I also firmly believe that everyone can have fun dating, that would be a great place for you to start, because I will take you through the steps and we'll start from the very beginning. Technology has changed the way we all date.
Yes.
Right? Whether you use an app or not, just the fact that we're all so technology savvy now, some type of technology, even if you meet someone in person, but we're still all on our phones, and we're, how are we messaging with people? How are we texting with people? How are we speaking with people? So, so it, so this, in 12 weeks, you can have a much different experience of dating than you might be having currently. And we, go over what I feel is really important for you to know about how to prepare yourself. There's a lot about you that is so precious and so important. And this is something that I hear from women who have been in relationships in the past, that they felt like they lost themselves. A lot of women feel like we lose ourselves in relationships. Well, where did we go? So when you're really grounded in yourself, when you're really clear about your values and your value and your worth, it's really hard to lose yourself. So we spend a lot of time preparing you to begin dating, talking about your values and getting really clear and getting you really grounded in the beauty of you. And then we talk a lot about safety while you're dating and how to choose the types of people to date who are going to be a better possibility of a long-term relationship, perhaps, than people that you may have been dating up until now. And also, it's an opportunity for you to really unpack for yourself, what are your beliefs about dating? Not only what are your beliefs about men, but based on your personal experiences, we all have our own beliefs about dating. And like we were saying earlier about our thoughts, that really impacts the way you date as well. And I want to offer also that I have a free guide that any of you is welcome to come to my website and sign up and get this free guide. And it goes over 3 essentials that I feel are really important for you to help start shifting your experience of dating. And it's super simple. If you're dating right now, there are things that you can just start to implement immediately, and you're going to start to see results that are very different than the ones that you've possibly had up until now. And then
Oh, that's great.
yeah, thank you. And then I also do, work with some clients on a month-to-month basis for 6 months, 3 months or 6 months, or whatever their particular need might be, because everyone's different. Everyone's different.
That's perfect. So you've got the 12-week program, then you also do more of a tailored program.
Yes.
And then you've got your book. I'm going to link all these details in the show notes. So, and I'm excited to have a look at your ebook, your little guide.
Thank you.
Because I'm at that stage, like we said, technology is very different. I touched on this a bit before. I tried the apps. I can't deal with small talk. I'm not saying that I'm some superior person, intelligent, stuff like this, but I just can't deal with, hi, how are you? How's your day? Like, my day's good. I'm happy with my day. That's just not where I'm at. I want to hear something really cool about something that you learned today, or how are you going to change the world? No, that's a bit,
Yeah.
like, I love the deepness, and I need that.
Right. And there are ways, right? That's something that we would be able to talk about as well. But there are ways. Small talk doesn't have to be tiny, right? It doesn't have to be,
Yeah,
hi, how are you, right? And a lot of people get nervous. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And that's okay. But there are ways that you can move that forward and get more of the information that you need to get to find out, because it's terrible to feel like you are dating someone for weeks or even months because you don't know yet, because you haven't decided yet, because, well, this person has some things that I'm looking for. But, a lot of times somebody said to me once, are women dating a lot of like men who are really bad for them? Is that the problem? And I said, well, no, I think the bigger problem, I mean, as far as numbers of women who talk to me about it, are women are dating a lot of really very lovely, nice men who are simply not for them. And when someone is nice, it's harder to end it, right? Because you feel like, well, there's nothing horribly wrong here. So where am I going? But I just feel like there's something missing. And that's what we want to be able to figure out up front. Like, we want to be able to help you. And again, this goes for whether you're on an app or whether you're online. I know that there are some websites that are known for different types of relationships, depending on what people are looking for. Or if you meet someone, I've been asked out in the grocery store. I've been asked out in the gas station at a gas station a couple of times. I've struck up a conversation with someone walking through a parking lot and wound up having a date. So good men are everywhere.
And that's true. I even try to have more conversations with people now to step out of my comfort zone and kind of get back into that. Because like I said, I don't drink. I don't go out. And you want to meet someone at a place where you have the same interests. So like for me, I like to exercise. I'm actually going to Bali next week for a month.
Oh, wonderful.
Because this is my passion project. We haven't really touched on this, but this is the podcast is like my passion. I love it. I love sharing healing out loud and, just showing people that they're not alone is my bigger picture. But I also have a business which I do marketing and help clients and stuff. And that's predominantly for helping them with their business. And I can work from anywhere. And I'm in the middle of kind of going through a bit of a shift where I don't have to be in one space. And this is the first time I've fully been able to have all my clients online. And, they're all around Australia, but I can do that from anywhere. So I'm going to go to Bali and I've got a friend there and they don't drink and they like fitness. And I'm staying in this kind of like area where there's a lot of digital nomads, like similar age, and they have sober parties and a lot of that stuff. And I'm like, well, that's something that I feel like I need right now. And I love the travel. So I love travel. I don't really I want to travel more when I do have kids and meet someone. So I need to put myself in that position.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if you want to meet someone that has the same values as you? And for me, I'm adventurous and yeah, I'd love to live overseas one day, even if it's for only 6 months or something with my husband and kids.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's important to kind of like put yourself where you want to meet people.
Exactly. Oh, and first, I mean, Bali is gorgeous. I loved it. I loved it so much. And that's so exciting. And you're bringing up something that I want to share also. So here's something that I think we can do anywhere. It's another thing that I want to offer to you all to really become conscious of. That anytime you leave your house, put yourself in vacation mode. Right? Because when we're in life mode, which often means work mode, our heads literally go down. We're focused. Like, what is that phrase? You put your head down and just get it done. And we're literally putting our heads down. But when we're in vacation mode or holiday mode, our heads are up because we want to see what's around us and what's going on here. And there's a natural curiosity that comes from that. And if that's something that you can start to do for yourself, that's going to start to shift your experience.
Wow. That's a great way to put it.
Immediately. Yeah.
Every day is vacation mode.
Every day.
Even if you're at home. I guess too, if you're at home and maybe someone's coming to do some work on the house. I'm in my vacation resort.
Yep.
One thing I find is, what advice would you have for people that have kids and wanting to get back into dating? Because I know that can be a hard one. That's a topic that I hear a lot. And even just speaking with some friends and It's not easy. You're not only having to obviously bring someone you've got to think about the children's safety, I think would be one thing. But then also it's the dynamic of the fathers, if they've got kids as well, that whole dynamic of coming together. And I think it can be beautiful and blended. I have seen some really beautiful experiences where they've come together and, co-parenting, great and that. But then I guess if you've not done that before, it could be a little bit scary to step into.
Sure. So the first thing I would want to say is that there are people who are experts in this. And so if you do have children, I would strongly urge you to seek out someone who can really guide you. This is what I do know for sure, though. No matter what age your children are, wait until you are ready, until you know that there is some that you are in a committed relationship with someone. And I don't mean wait until you're engaged, but wait until you know that this person is going to be around before you introduce them to your children. Because what you don't want to do is just be introducing your children to, a bunch of people who you might go out for 1 or 2 or 3 dates with. And, you want to know that relationship has legs. And it goes the same way for if you are dating someone who has children.
Yes.
And here's where it goes back to being really important that you know yourself and that you're really grounded in your values and you can really hold on and have parameters within a relationship, because you might be dating someone who doesn't think that that's so important. You might be dating someone who thinks, oh no, let's just, let's get the kids together and, go have a picnic or something and it'll be fine. But if you know what's important to you and your children, then you can more easily stand your ground. And like you said, I mean, I've seen such beautiful blended families, and doing it in a way that is loving and caring and nurturing of your children is just really amazing. What the other part of it though is, if you are a single parent and you've got all that responsibility and you're working and you're raising children and you feel like, how can I even date? I don't even have a minute to myself. What I would suggest you start with is see if you can carve out 1 hour a week for yourself. 1 solid hour that you're not multitasking, right? It's not your time when you go for a run and you're listening to a podcast at the same time. And it's not your time where maybe you're getting a pedicure, but you're scrolling and you're catching up with your social media while you're doing that. See if you can commit to giving yourself a solid hour with yourself. And that can evolve into, well, now I know I have that much time. I could go on 1 date a week now that I know that I can have an hour a week, or, so it's things like that. We have to sometimes build up to things and, think about it. If you can't create that time for yourself and just yourself, how are you going to make the space and open up your life to bring someone else into it?
It's always the small steps too.
Mhm.
Just start small, creating that space, like you said, 1 hour a week, and going further from that.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a great conversation. It always goes so quick when we're just in the middle of it. But what I like to wrap up the conversation with is, what would you go back and tell your younger self? Any advice, or someone listening that's at the start of their journey? What's some words that you would say?
I would tell my younger self to develop more confidence and trust in myself than in other people. make it more important what I think of something, what I think of myself, what I feel is the right decision for me than asking other people and looking around and seeing what other people think I ought to be doing. And it's that was a game changer for me, and it came so much later than it might have.
Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any quotes or mantras that you live by? Mine's progress, not perfection.
Oh, that's a wonderful one. Well, when you say quotes, I was thinking of, I always think of Maya Angelou, who said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And it's those last 3 words that a lot of people miss. It's not simply when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Believe them the first time.
Mm.
And there's a lot of power again in that, for us to know that we get to make that choice for ourselves.
And we get to make the choice, I think, as well, further from that, is we can choose every single day. You know,
Yes.
Anyone listening, you get the choice every single day to have that choice. Well, it's been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I've learned a few things for myself, for my next adventure and dating. And it's just all about too, is just, you got to hold on to the hope and the faith, but then also just knowing that the right person. And, you know, when you believe in yourself and you have that relationship, like we really started the whole conversation with, and we're fully circling back now, is having that relationship with yourself. It all just makes sense. Everything else kind of just makes sense then. You're like, oh, that's, you know, I know this will happen and this is where it's going to be. And yes.
Right.
Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to share, Lena?
Yeah, you just made me think of this. And I guess this is going back to the way I started the conversation about how my life used to be. And so what I would offer also is that your past does not dictate your future. You get to shift. You get to change. You get to become whoever you choose to be whenever you choose to do that. And you don't have to bring your past along with you. You can just leave it in the past and start from today and go forward. And I would be excited to know. I would love to hear from people how they're changing and how they're evolving, and just I'm so I don't know. I feel so deeply that we all can have such good lives. We can have the lives that we want. We can have the love that we want.
Oh, I love that. I love everything you just said. And what I say too is, our story is not our purpose. We get to rewrite our story, but you know, what we've been through, it's a part of our story, but it's not our purpose, and we get to shift that. I like to say that a lot, because I've obviously been through a lot of things, and that doesn't define who I am as a person now. I've shifted from that. I've removed it. I've removed that victim mentality, that this happened to me, this wasn't my fault. Well, yeah, none of it was my fault, but I had to choose to heal from it. I had to choose to make a better life for myself. And that's what we're going on as well with the choice. We get the choice to change, and we get the choice to make a better life.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much again for your time, Lena. I'll be linking all your details in the show notes, everything that anyone needs to get in touch with. And for everybody else, remember, it's progress, not perfection. And I will see you next week.